to the Fourth Away. My name is Diz, aka David Zammit. Let's get on with the show with the news, the views, the reviews, and interviews. And today is a special edition. I will be shortly getting out of my Jedi robe. Can you believe it? It is the morning here. That goodness. So I'm about to get up and go and see Toy Story 5, give you a review of it. We're going to do that very shortly. I will do the Star Wars news updates and interviews, which is my comments on my last particular video later on the show. But for now, let's go and see. Well, before I do that, let's just scrub up and go and see Toy Story 5. Okay, we're almost there. Got my Kool-Aid for Toy Story 5. We're about to enter. Okay, so me and Lily have just seen Toy Story 5. Let's get home and give you that review. Okay, so welcome back. I've just seen Toy Story 5. Let me position myself a bit more central to you out there. Okay, so I'm going to start off with the review. Toy Story 5, straight off the bat, gets a 9 out of 10. That's right, 9 out of 10. As good and as great as the others, I've partially forgotten storylines from others. I'm not a rewatchable Toy Story person for two reasons. One, I'm not, I love it, but I'm just not a huge, mega fan. But also, I find the reflection of the earlier years in life, it's just a little bit emotional. So it's a bit hard to keep going back and forth to that sort of sadness in a way, sadness, happiness of growing up and stuff like that. But let me just get right into this. 9 out of 10 for the action. I'll give you also a review of the product I bought at the cinema. I went to my local cinema, just a regular standard cinema, but it has reclining chairs. It's a really amazing sort of basic cinema, but it's really good. It is an extreme screen, which is sort of a not IMAX, but it's a big screen. And anyway, the whole premise to the story, having this lily pad, which is like an iPad, be sort of a villain in the beginning. Turns out to be, somebody that was just drawn into a child's life and sort of gets caught up in growing up. Anyone growing up in the world, anywhere, everywhere, sort of has to deal with people that just will bring them down and bring them up. You know who your friends are. And especially when you're a kid, you're very vulnerable. And being this iPad thing, LilyPad was actually a great idea to the premise to the story. It gives it sort of something that we all can relate to right now, which is technology versus things in the world. Technology seems to be just, reigning supreme, no matter what age you are. I mean, you can get, but getting records, getting tapes, getting CDs, getting DVDs, and stuff like this is just obsolete. You can get them in the place, but it's a hard find these days. But I just saw the whole premise of having that as a front and center sort of, you could say, tool or idea to the movie was a really good idea. And I liked how it was called LilyPad. I thought the highlight for me, personally, the highlight character in this film by far, and is actually quite present in the whole film, is one of my favorite late night show hosts who I've actually met over in his old NBC studio. I shook his hand and I said hello, la la la. It's a bit of a little, just a very short meet and greet, but it was my absolutely iconic moment in my life. Conan O'Brien plays this toilet sort of toy tool in helping toddlers go to the toilet. It wasn't a thing that we had here in Australia. I don't know of this type of toy. It's a very unfamiliar thing. If it was around, I was unaware of it. he plays a character named Smarty Pants, which is, it looks like a plastic toilet roll, and it just sort of guides a little one in learning how to and what to do in a toilet, things like that. It was so funny. One of the funniest moments with this point was when the actual animation goes into a different type of animation, like a sort of a dreamlike state, if you were to say, or just a thought. The actual toilet toy thing that Conan O'Brien played actually had his red hair iconic do, with sort of like a swirl, red hair swirl. It was so funny. Like some of the things he was saying, not kids would not understand, adults would definitely understand. But there's a lot of American humor that you've got to really understand and respect Conan O'Brien with, because he's very dark and sarcastic with his humor. I love his humor. He's so good. He's my all-time favorite. Even though I have a David Letterman Late Show mug that I usually use for the show, but now today I've got a different Kool-Aid container, which you'll see soon. But I am telling you, this was an absolute pleasure to see Conan O'Brien in this film, and it was just it was a very good film. There is heart-jerking moments, as a Toy Story film would have. Front and center also was the cowgirl, which was great. Sort of the side characters, but still fairly front and center as well, was even the cowboy character and the Buzz Lightyear. Everyone was making an inclusion. There's a lot of background type of characters that we sort of used to, Mr. Potato Head and all that were sort of present there. It's just a great story. It's a great film to see as an adult, because with some of the humor is intense, with especially Conan O'Brien's character, Smarty Pants. But I think also kids will love it. But the only thing I'll say is the way the film sort of sets itself up in having all these Buzz Lightyears and sort of it gets you get thrown into the mix a little. It's a little confusing, I think, for a child. They'll appreciate a lot of other sort of storylines, especially the little girl Bonnie and I think it was Jess. I think it was their relationship. They're bringing together as friendship. Which you'll sort of see in the whole film. They are, friends that are far, friends that are close. That's not a big spoiler. It's a little bit of a spoiler. But anyway, 9 out of 10. Now, also, sipping the Kool-Aid today, and I've got some Kool-Aid still in it. This is the only thing I bought. Yet it's similar to the He-Man sort of line, which I think almost a standard thing that Hoyts is creating, because it's a removable sort of top again. This character, I bought this particular one. You could have got a range of characters. I just thought, well, this will symbolize this story the most, and it probably is the main character, along with the cowgirl in the film. So I got that. So I'll give this a 7 out of 10. Like it's great that I've got that character, but it's a bit of a standard drink sort of cup container that's been sort of manufactured. It's not unique. They could have in this film made something unique, as the film will create such a revenue, I'm sure, here in Australia and America. But anyway, that's a 7 out of 10. But still, I'm sipping the Kool-Aid. Anyway, and while I'm at it, I'll rock a Midlothian Peel. Bit of refreshment to wash it down. Anyway, so that is my review for this time for Toy Story 5. 9 out of 10 for the film, 7 out of 10 for the product I got there. Now, let's just get into views, then interviews. It's all mixed up and arranged today in the show. But my views is either my viewpoint or a story idea that I have a view idea for. But today is a viewpoint. Look, I'm still noticing, and it's been here for many years, almost I'd say a decade plus. But my view is that even though I think YouTubers like myself are out there, pushing Star Wars or liking Star Wars or just sharing our love and stuff like that, I think toning back on, what is going wrong in the world, even though it sort of creates views for some people, I think it's just not doing anything good for the brand, because anything that comes out will be scrutinized more on the lower end. I just think, you've got to just, again, accept the story for what it is. If it's not the story that you wanted, then just no. It's a great adventure in the stars. And that's it. Like it's still got merit. Like there's always things about Star Wars lore, and but first and foremost, before Star Wars lore really was created, the film had to be a success. And the film back in 1977, even though it generated a lot of big cues back then, and even with The Force Awakens in the 2015s, if that's a way to put it, and which I was a part of in America. Let me tell you, I was in those lines. It was phenomenal. But I just think, really just accept the story or stories that people are presenting for Star Wars. And if you don't like it, then steer away from it. Because this whole negative talk, I think, is going to steer in a direction that I would think would be devastating. And I think it would be the closure of Star Wars, because the amount of negativity that's still around is really sort of like beating and beating and beating until the point where there's nothing. And beating, it's just going to cause 100% damage. I think, I want Star Wars to be around. I'd love, my stories to be told as a movie. I've got plenty of stories that could be created that would be better or worse or whatever it is, but I believe I could create a story for Star Wars, but I don't own it. So I just sit back, see what it is, and sort of give, sort of enjoy the ride of the journey in the stars. That's what it really is. And that there is fun in itself. If you're looking at like The Mandalorian and, the A New Hope, it's still got that adventure in both films. It still has that mesmerizing visuals. Look, the story of A New Hope is a heroic uprise and a great heroic story. But The Mandalorian, it just hovers in sort of action sequences and sort of little adventures. But that, to me, is what The Mandalorian has always been about, and that's what it is. But I do enjoy that hovering as well. I mean, look, getting to the episodic type films, it really does have to have a stakes that is really high. But anyway, that's my view for this time around. Now, let's get into interviews. Interviews is usually the questions I have on my last video. And so my last video was... sorry, before I get into interviews, I should get into the news. The news is this time around, Star Wars Celebration 27, that's 2027. I've been speaking back and forth with ReedPop by email, and again, it's Star Wars Celebration at reedpop.com. Send in this whole ticket fiasco thing now. I mean, this is the time to do it and to repeat yourself with these people. You may push the envelope with these people, but they need to understand how devastating this is. So really, they put merchandise for the current ticket holders of 2027 before satisfying the thousands, tens of thousands of fans who didn't get a chance to get a ticket because of the ticketing fiasco of 2027 Star Wars Celebration online. And so I'm going back and forth with emails. They really haven't come to the plate and said, okay, this is it. I've told them the urgency about having these tickets released before things get announced. And things will get announced, and we will all be left behind. At the moment, it's not looking great, but all I can say is I say at the end of every show, and in fact I say it as a normal thing, just keep rocking. Star Wars Celebration at Reed Pop, that's REED Pop.com. Send in now. The time is now. That's some of the news. Anyway, now let's get into the interviews. And interviews is my last questions on my last particular show. Or it could be anything, but let's put it as that. So anyway, I got let's get right in the comments. At Hans Colo 619, who has written in before, which is fantastic, is he or she's written in before. Hans Colo 619 or Cholo, I'm unsure. Please, I do apologize if I'm butchering your name. I'm doing the best I can from what I can see. He or she says, awesome channel. I really hope you're able to get your celebration ticket. I agree with everything you said about the ticket fiasco. I appreciate the support and the understanding. I can't tell you how, I know it's a third world problem, but I can't tell you how devastating this is for me and the many, many others out there. But thank you very much, Hans Colo. Now, Michael from Werribee South, one of our, repetitive favourites here. Werribee South is a part of Melbourne, on the other side of the bridge in Australia. That's Victoria, Melbourne. That's the capital city. Werribee's a suburb. On the other side, Werribee South is where he's at. Anyway, Michael has stated, Jessie taking the lead. Toy Story 5 shifts its primary focus to cowgirl Jessie. How did you feel about her driving the narrative and confronting her deep-seated abandonment trauma compared to past Woody-centric films? It worked. Female, fat, black, all the things that people just think this is why, when, how, whatever. I don't care what color. I don't care what sex. I don't care what size. This really drove the emotion in the film, and it gave a perspective from a toy. But you know what? As kids, including myself, we do take on toys as a life on its own. And this character, the cowgirl, exceptional storyline in Toy Story 5. That's how to answer that question. The next question by Michael from Werribee South. Woody's return. Woody returns to help the gang despite his definitive ending in Toy Story 4. Do you think his inclusion was narratively necessary, or was it just a brought back for legacy nostalgia? Look, I will agree it's a little bit nostalgia, but if the relevancy of Woody is there, it feels and is right. It all connects together. The whole story of Toy Story, any of them, including Toy Story 5, has a great connectivity in why, when, and how, and really relates to the actual character perfectly. Woody being a toy, sort of gets a perspective of a toy and a perspective of his character. I think it was great. It's nostalgia, but nostalgia is a thing we should not be afraid of. Not something, that was fan service. Because whether it's fan service or not, it's a part of the story. You can't have Star Wars with The Incredible Hulk. I mean, that's not nostalgia. That's like, why? Why can't you include Darth Vader rather than Incredible Hulk? Because that is a part of Star Wars. Darth Vader, not Incredible Hulk. Maybe in the future could be, but I have to wait and see for that. But let's just hold on to our hats. And while I'm at it, to cool myself down, rocking some Kool-Aid. Anyway, Michael, again, from Werribee South. How does the Common Con pre-registration work, and how does it beat scalpers at their game? I think he meant Comic Con, which was in San Diego, which I'm not a big intensity of Marvel or DC. I do love it. I enjoy it. I hold it really, really high. I immensely. I just don't know. I'm not just so fascinated with it. Besides Star Wars, but look. They had, if you bought a ticket and you had others and you bought multiple tickets, then you have to be connected to that person who bought the original ticket and have some sort of connection with it, which gave it a sort of security check. For some unknown qualified reason, Repop says buy 20 of them and you don't need a code. Qualified people at Repop really need to go back to school and check it out. I'm up. I'm available full time for Repop if you want it. Anyway, it makes my blood boil. Anyway, the next question, Michael from Werribee South. You have been very critical of Repop regards to Star Wars Celebration 2027. Put yourself in promoter shoes and tell them exactly what you would do differently than Repop to fix this mess. Tell you how you fix this mess. You immediately find the room straight away, whether it's around or inside the actual LA Convention Center, to maximize the space, even if it's outside, and create canopies and to have that extra space, and or put your money where your mouth is and get part of or all of the Crypto Center. I know that's a big chunk of money, but I'm sure the Star Wars in Moneybank has a lot of money still to spend, even with its declining purchasing of many fans of the last decade. It's gone up, slowly down, but I'm sure they've got lots of money in the bank still. And I think you can just, if they did that, it would make the 50th anniversary not just accommodating for the fans that are lost. It would increase the size of the venue, which was my initial sort of complaint. But it would create such an iconic con ever. It would be the biggest con ever in amount of people and in size of area. For the 50th anniversary, I think that's deserving so. Plus, they have money in the bank. Now, you think I'm spending money wildly? No. The money return on these people who are customers in exchange for getting that extra room would accommodate. I'm telling you, everything are going to be sold out. Everything is going to be sold out. Complete. I mean, I'll be surprised if there's anything left on the showroom floor. It's going to be a absolute intensity. Anyway, so that's how I would do it. I would get straight into there, size the venue properly, not base it on declining Star Wars reaction and having it just central to the whole LA for the sake of having it central, but sizing the event should have been a priority one. And it still can be done, but they're holding back. Repop, stop being greed pop for yourselves. Anyway, there was a reply to Michael, and I'll read the reply, and it was from, it's another $1 appeal. Computer Boy 2K replied to Michael, and it's sort of with a comment, and he said, he or she had said they have to move to a Comic-Con type pre-registration, and that you can only buy tickets linked to registrations. That should severely cut down the scalper's ability to buy blocks of tickets for resale. That's correct. Whether it can be done now, I'm unsure. It maybe could be done. Really the actual physical tickets haven't been handed out. Maybe they could do this. And then a lot of people then probably say, well, I don't need 20 tickets. Can I sell them back to Celebration? And then tickets will be available. But these tickets need to be available sooner than later. Because if it's not sooner than later, those people with tickets are pretty much going to go to a place that is a shopping mall for Star Wars and not having access to photo ops, auto ops, panel opportunities as well. because they won't be able to buy a pre-registered reservation because they don't have a ticket. This is a fiasco beyond craziness. That can be solved now. It needs to be done now. Read pop, greed pop. There's a new song for you. Anyway, and the next question was Michael, and he's actually saying it at Computer Boy 2K. The problem is scalpers will always find a way to beat the system. No matter what you do, they should have found a bigger space, as this is a massive event and didn't think this would happen. Completely agree. And look, Star Wars, yes, has declining desire with people, but this is the 50th anniversary. Do I have to say this again? 50th anniversary. And whilst the creator, knock on wood, is alive, he will be there, I'm sure. He's not been announced, but I'm sure he's going to be there. And there was replies. Computer Boy then replied to Michael and said they should have hosted this at Anaheim again. That convention center has almost doubled the capacity. I don't know about this Anaheim center in what it looks like, but this guy is saying it, and if that's the case, boom. Boom! But I think Star Wars doesn't want to go back to a place that has been visited only recently. That's why I think they're holding back. And it doesn't put it in the front and center location of LA, because I think downtown is the middle of everywhere and it will just create a buzz. But I think Computer Boy 2K is right. I think Michael's right. This has been undersized and oversold to single patrons. And then Michael has replied back to Computer Boy, and who was the genius that thought current convention center, they need to go back to uni. Back to school, go back to school, back to school, go back to school. Read pop, greed pop. Mate, I'm making tunes today, let me tell you. Anyway, that is the end of the questions in the interview section. Send in your comments. I will be discussing more about Star Wars Celebration when news comes to light or updates and things like that. Anyway, subscribe to the Force Awakens. I'm here 3 or 4 times a week. And, like and share the video. That's if you like and want to share it. Until next time, my friends, keep rocking.